Hello there, people of the internet. It is incredible how many times I hear people tell me, this is my go-to rifle, or that is my go-to rifle, or I picked this one platform because of this particular reason, or it is the most universal rifle to be able to handle as many situations as possible, especially the more likely ones that we might come across. The amount of people that come to me and they tell me, I have this rifle with this setup, it's just, yeah, I definitely recommend you have yourself a good universal do-everything rifle, one that you know that you can rely on in times of turmoil. However, I'm sure you guys have noticed, I have more than one gun, and I hope that you guys do as well. If you're here watching a gun channel, odds are you're looking to get more than one gun, or you already have more than one gun. So, yeah, you are allowed to have more than one firearm. It is incredible the amount of people who think, hey, if something goes down, I have this one firearm. Like the amount of people that come to me and they're like, I have this one thing. Kevin's screaming in the background. I have this one thing and that is it. I'm like, why don't you go ahead and decide to yourself, hey, this one thing won't cover all of the situations, so maybe on top of this one thing, I should get myself another thing. Most people, their go-to is going to be an AR and 223, 5.56, and for most situations, this right here is going to be absolutely adequate to handle pretty much, like I said, most of the things that people are going to come across. But there are times where maybe you would need a more powerful rifle, like something that just sends a full power rifle cartridge down range as opposed to a 55 or 62 grain projectile, or maybe a 77 or 80 grain projectile, depending on your twist rate. It's still a lightweight projectile that is definitely classified as an intermediate cartridge. You are allowed to have more than one thing. Now, if you are carrying things directly on your person, you're doing it wrong, and you should definitely have a means to have more than one rifle at wherever it is that you are going or wherever it is that you are at. This right here is a really good example of a full power rifle. This is a Turkish 8mm Mauser. I was out here shooting this earlier today, so I figured, hey, may as well include this inside of the video since I have it literally sitting right here. But this right here, bolt action rifle, not necessarily something I would want for a modern combat situation, but having this as a full power rifle to do full power rifle things on top of this right here for your actual combat scenarios, especially if you are up north with larger animals, or you're in a situation where you have to punch past a barrier, or if you're needing to stop a vehicle or something like that, having a more powerful rifle would definitely be a really good way to go. Now, like I said, if you are in a manned portable system and you only have the one rifle, don't carry two rifles. If you're in a manned portable system, get your one rifle to handle most situations. And then wherever it is that you're going, make sure that you have one of these there. The beauty about rifles is you can store them indefinitely in other places. This doesn't have an expiration date. It's not food. If you store food or some sort of perishable item in these places, you will have to restock those items as time goes on, especially if it is something that is not stored for long periods of time. This right here will store basically indefinitely. You could get yourself one of these or one of these and store them somewhere and leave it there for decades, and then go to it whenever you need it, and it will be there and ready to run. Now, one of the beautiful things, now my recommendation, get yourself your universal do-everything rifle, and then have full power rifles at locations. Like, these are the things that you would want at various locations, because these are the things that you're probably not going to carry with you, because for a universal practical do-everything rifle, this right here is not as good of a choice as this right here, especially if you are in a situation where you have no resupply and no help coming from any sort of outside force. So get yourself the full power rifle and keep those at wherever it is that you're going. The beauty about this country is you can get multiple guns. There are some countries that limit the amount of guns that you have. That's not the case here inside of the United States. And if you want, you can get yourself some milsurp rifles. Being a collector, I go with the standard configuration milsurps. However, I also have quite a few sporterized surplus rifles. And even though those are not collectibles, that is still a full power rifle in a very good quality rifle system. They're typically going to be like 8mm Mausers or 30-06s or something along those lines, just a sporterized military surplus rifle. These tend to be incredibly good quality rifles, and even though they are sporterized and have lost their collectible value, guess what? I have a full power rifle for not a lot of money. Your milsurp, sporterized milsurps out there are really not all that expensive, especially if you get one in a caliber that you can get regularly, like 7.62 by 54 rimmed, or 308/7.62 NATO, or 30-06 or something like that, something that you can find ammunition regularly for. But you get these sporterized milsurps or this modern production rifle for not a lot of money. Your modern production rifles are oftentimes going to be more accurate, but I prefer something that has iron sights, especially here in Florida, where humidity is a thing and cheap scopes fog up, and it's just not a good time, not ideal, especially in the locations that I would be going to get yourself like a good quality glass scope that's not going to fog up would cost you more money than what it would take to just get yourself a milsurp that has iron sights. Of course, you can get yourself whatever optic you want. Of course, by all means, you do whatever it is that you want. But you can get yourself multiple of these full power rifles and keep them in multiple locations. So if something goes down and you're like, oh no, I have to leave, I can't take my full power rifle with me here because of XYZ situation, I have to walk the distance, or maybe you're in a car and you have your rifle with you, car breaks down, there's a fire or a flood or something happens, and all you have is your practical rifle. Well, you go to your secondary fallback bug out location, whatever it is that you want to call it, and you have your full power rifle there on standby, just waiting on the location. So you have a means to be able to use a full power rifle if you need to, but you still have your primary do everything rifle with you. This right here is the one that you would bring with you, but you should have more than one piece. You should have more than one firearm set at your various locations. You should have one at your house, one at your bug out locations, one at your families and friends and wherever it is that you're going to be going. Just the potential places that you could go, you could, you know, be like, hey, I'm gonna go ahead and keep this here just in case something goes down whenever I show up. This way I have a full power rifle. You should have more than one. That is my recommendation, especially at the price point that you can get full power rifles at nowadays, especially if it's like a sporterized milsurp or a new production rifle. Whatever your preference is, you go ahead and you go for it. But I've got a couple of sporterized Turkish Mausers. I've got a couple of sporterized Czech Mausers. I've got just a bunch of sporterized rifles. I don't really have much in terms of modern production stuff, but I got a bunch of sporterized stuff that I keep at just various locations. So if something does happen, I can grab my AR and I can go ahead and hit the road if I need to. The odds of me bugging out from my current location are very, very slim. I would definitely be in a situation where I'm bugging in. But if something does happen and I have to leave, I would grab my AR. This is not the AR I'm talking about for a situation like this. This is just a Radical Firearms. I'm putting it through the break-in period, so I'm running some rounds through it. That's why I have it out here at the range. But I'd grab my AR and I would grab my equipment the best that I could, depending on how much time I have there, and I would hit the road. And if I had to walk, then I guess I would walk with my AR. But if I had the ability to drive where I was going, then I'd grab as much equipment as I possibly could. I would stuff that vehicle full. Like, I'd have to, oh boy, that vehicle would be packed full with as much goods as I can get inside of that thing. But if I didn't have the option and it was a man-portable system, grab my rifle and be like, okay, this is the nearest safe house. This is the nearest bug out location. I have this buried there with this rifle, this ammunition, and this amount of supplies, and this amount of building equipment to be able to make myself whatever shelters it is that I need there. You should have multiple things at multiple locations, because if something happens and your primary plan, my primary plan is to stay here, if something happens and your primary plan doesn't work out, then you should definitely have some sort of backup plan, because if you don't, you're just gonna be like, well, I guess I died. And there's too many people out there who have that mindset of, well, if something happens, I guess I'm gonna die. As a matter of fact, I have a friend of mine with that mindset. He has, by all means, one of the better opportunities, is that the word I'm looking for? His setup is actually tremendously good in comparison to a lot of other people's. But if something goes down, he's just like, if it's the end of the world, I'm not built for it, so I'm just gonna go ahead and forever sleep. And I'm like, yeah, that's probably not a good idea, especially considering that you can do some pretty incredible things with what it is that you have. And my recommendation, have a bunch of stuff. Of course, that's everybody's recommendation. Boy, I sure miss those old Milsurp prices back in the day, whenever you could get yourself like a Mosin for like 75 bucks and one of those big old spam cans for like 40 bucks. You could stick a bunch of Mosins all over the place and have a bunch of ammo with them. That would be fantastic. But this right here, primary rifle, handles most things within 500 yards or so. This right here, full power rifle. Make sure that you get yourself some accurate rifles. That would be another one of my recommendations, but pretty much any kind of full power rifle would be useful in a variety of different kinds of situations. In this particular case, I am shooting at steel, making a YouTube video in my backyard. Oh, that poor steel. Okay, let's send another round. You know, some of this Turkish ammo I have goes right through that steel. I'm thinking that some AP ammo must have been mixed in with this batch. Anyway, folks, thanks for watching. I appreciate your time. Like, subscribe, share. What is it that you guys have in your various locations? I'm curious to hear what you guys have to say. So, you guys go off, have yourself a fantastic day. I will see you guys on the next episode. Since I've done this. Bonnie and Clyde be damned. Poor man's Garen. Shame that bolt action shotguns aren't more mainstream.